Hmm. All beings are free. Yet the mind of man binds them to the world. Yet there is nothing in the world that would bind a person unless the mind so wished it to be that way. All beings have total freedom, yet the mind creates misery and chases a false happiness. And all the beauty you see in the world is no more than the creation from yourself. And rather than seeing beauty, one takes their eyes from the beauty in the sky and changes the focus to the difficulties within the mind. A man then chases object with no satisfaction and thinks that thing will give them the beauty that they once had, that they know inherently within their being. But they never find it. And misery and happiness come in equal measures, but not the truth happiness of the spiritual self, but the false happiness of something out there will give them the joy in here. And yet man thinks that those which are poor in poverty, where only rags of clothes are in misery, and those which have abundance have happiness. Yet how do they know? How do you know that the one that is in poverty is in fact in misery? And how do you know the one full of riches is not in misery himself? It is false perceptions. You see, those who have much must be the most abundant, yet all too frequently they are more miserable than the next person. The perception is the problem. And do not think that death will save you from this misery. If you retain it within your thoughts, you will carry it on from life to life, seeking an escape, but never finding it in the world. Rather, one should find through discrimination the true knowledge of oneself. And you should discriminate from the false to the real. You should let go of how the mind creates all this perception, yet delivers so little satisfaction. You should see your heart as being the storehouse of all your treasure, and place in it what is true, therefore reaffirming the truth of you. So you retain the true desire of knowing spirit or God, the true desire of your home, and remove all those desires which are limited in nature. Now, this is not because you need to acquire them and store them in the mind, but you need to open to them. And the more that you place in there, in fact, is a release of your truth. And that treasure chest in your heart is then the link from what is true into the physical world. So by remembering love or happiness, the true happiness, and deciding to hold that as your truth, you reaffirm an open truth and the true happiness to flow through you into the physical world. So discriminate between what is right and what is false. Discriminate by only keeping the true focus of love and joy. Recognize the mind as it pulls you into the abyss, like a descending staircase ever downwards, until you change your perception. Look at your life and your world. Are you bound or are you free? Is it true you are bound? Am I not always free and just choose to be limited instead? And then spirit descends into man, traveling along the Sushumna line into the world of matter. And then joins and together with the world of matter to find the unity in one. And those which first start their journey from the physical self must look inwards. And they meet block after block as they begin to open to their truth. It is like a person leaving their house in the morning, closing the kitchen door, then closing the outside door, and then closing the gate. And then chooses to come home of an evening, and at the gate cannot find their key. And they search their hip pockets, their trousers, their shirt, their jacket, their bag, for where that key is. But that key is never in those physical items. But one day they manage to open the gate and get the first taste of home. And then they walk towards the front door. And now the front door so much stronger, so many more locks of safety. Again, they cannot find the key to enter their home. And once more, man taps their trousers and their chest and their bag, looking for the way to enter their home. But the key is never there. But if you'd built up your treasure in your heart, if you'd built up what is true and felt the joy of love, then the locks to this front door are so much softer. And if you build them up sufficiently, the locks no longer exist. And one then is able to enter the home. So this is like a Kundalini awakening. Spirit first descends into matter, and matter then tries to ascend into spirit. But heat hits all of the blocks, the locks in the way before it can arrive home. And these blocks must be softened and opened by removing oneself from the physical world and opening to the heart space of a home that's stored within. the spiritual heart of man. So one who finds true freedom through discrimination will allow the love to flow ever up and down, and the two worlds become one. And then one consciously leaves their house with no locks and no doors, knowing it can never be taken from the dweller. So inside your heart, hold your love. Inside your heart, retain your peace. Inside your heart, find your God. And know the heart is open to all. You just choose to block it or not. And the blocks may be made of stone, may be made of rags, or indeed it may be made of silk. They're a block nonetheless. So let yourself be free to your truth. Come home twice a day to your heart and sit there. Notice when you sit in meditation, the mind pulls you away from it, pulls you into the physical world. Resist that challenge. Choose love, not the thought. Choose yourself and not the illusion. Do not come out of peace for the sake of a thought. Create the habit of joy and perfection. And then as you sit there for longer times and create over time this new habit of sitting in this perfected state, then the world begins to be bindless, boundless, joyful, free, perfect. The way you see your world is the way you live in your heart. Do you live in the heart full of this freedom? Or do you live in the heart trying to find your way? And when you come to this point, at some stage, you will realize that there was never any locks, never any door, and everywhere was your home. You see love and joy in every corner. And you see, you know this. It has been told to you many times. And yet you come away from it and sit in your pain saying, that is who I am and what I must bear. Your Kundalini energy is awakening. The connections are all possible. The awakening happens only in the mind as it clarifies itself and becomes bright and clear. So let your mind be bright. Let your heart be boundless. Recognize at times you are pulled out of your peace into the pain. But underneath all that pain and difficulty is your truth. underlying all that challenge in the world is your truth. Your happiness is not dependent on riches or failure, on rags or feeling destitute at all. You can be happier with less and in more pain with more. So what you hold on to, you keep in your heart. You attach to, you think that is you. Do not put false desires and perception. Let your heart be open to love and remind it with the truth that you see from time to time. And then it will become more fluid and perceived more often. So when one begins to awaken, one often gets glimpses of the truth beyond. A glimpse may be no more than just a mere second, often less, sometimes more. And yet you know this to be true. What you saw for just a second or two has more value and faith and makes a bigger impression than anything the world will give you. And then you crave it time and time again to say, take me back there. Let me sit there once more. Let me feel whole just for a while. Let me let go of all this difficulty, this pain, the lack, the loneliness, the feeling of heaviness in the world. And just for a period, choose to let go of that. Now, all meditation, all times, from the very beginning, is the recognition that there is a choice. I can sit in the clarity, or I can sit in the distraction. So in all meditation, the truth of you is always there. Otherwise, it would not be true. So in your meditations, you take yourself out of that truth. The first glimpse, come back to your truth in you. Reaffirm this position, this pathway, and you will know your answers in time. If you just sit and think, then you are just sitting and not meditating. Strengthen the muscle of choice. Discriminate. The thought only gives you pain and creates more of it. So sit in the non-thought as often as you can. Mere second, just 1 second, is enough. You do not find it by craving, but by releasing. You do not find that mere second anywhere in the external world, but the quiet and solitude space of self. Be in peace today, and then you can be in peace every day. So your own observations of yourself is immensely critical. See that you're pulled left or right rather than sitting still. See that the body wants agitation rather than peace. See that the mind wants to pull you into challenge and difficulty rather than acceptance. See the mind pulls you into judgment rather than sitting in love. See that you chase false gods rather than being with the true God, who is forever waiting for you. The true God sits with you now. You do not need to wait for God. You just need to open to God. You do not need to acquire anything for God. You just need to choose God. You do not need to bring any false goods of any description because they are not appealing to God. He wants only your truth and your heart. He wants only your presence. He wants you to turn your head to him and not to the falseness of money and fame. So which one is more appealing to you? We all know what you truly want. And you know what you want. But your mind resists and thinks that it must be a special time if I am to meet God. It must be a miraculous event, very special, that must occur only when I am perfected. But you can meet God now. Now. It is not special because it is your truth. It is not special for an orange to be an orange. It is just the truth. It is not special for you to be spirit, to be love, to be loving, because that is just the truth. So why wait? That is what you want. Everyone knows it. But your ego resists it. So all religions point back to the non-physical self. They call it many different names. You may call it what name you wish. And if you want, just call it love. Come home. And know that that is your birthright. So I think it's appropriate we pause there. So after the healing list in a moment, if you wish, you may ask a question. And we'll perhaps take 2 or 3 questions. And next week, if you wish to do the same, bring other questions. We'll spend more of the session guiding you to your truth. So, Brandon, may I have the healing list of names now, please?
Donnet, Amanda K, Alex, Lily J, Eric J, Ross and Karen, Rob, Susie, Aiden, Abby, BB, Denise Wareham, Helen, Stephen Potter, Amanda, Ross, Anne Marie Lynch, Petra R, Laura, Carrie G, Christine Wielden, Deborah, Teresa, Ace, Baby Bay, Sandy, Brody, Nala, Charlie, PK, Lola, Casper, Flash, Grant, Kathy, Sam, Sarah, William, Jasmine, Justin, and Ben. Thank you.
Before I open to the first question, may I pass on a message? And it's actually to Brandon and to Malada. The suggestion that was just made, can you make that happen or reaffirm for it to happen in July? It was not from the medium's mind. And it will be important and in line with the education that needs to follow. I'm sure you understand. So, Brandon, do we have a first question, please?
Yes, we do. I have a question here from Dave. I will ask on his behalf, but he's still here should you need to speak with him. Some people say we should pick a time and meditate at that same time each day. However, if there's no time in the spirit world, is it okay to meditate at different times? Many thanks.
The idea of creating a particular time on a particular day in a particular room, in a particular posture, is not for spirit. It is for the human side. Regularity and structure do give a commitment to begin with. So the conscious mind needs the structure and order to create the habit. And then when the habit is formed, then, of course, the routine can be changed as often as one wants. So if one is picking a meditation path, it becomes easier if one says at 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. or whatever the time is, that is my meditation time, and should stick to it. Now, the ego is going to try to push the person off the regularity. And the body will come up with all sorts of pains. The exterior world, because the ego so asks it, will come up with all sorts of difficulties. And yet, in meditation, we are aiming to go beyond the ego mind into the true self. So one should hear the voice of the ego saying, not today, but carry on anyway. So again, discrimination is important. After a period of time, one can bring meditation throughout their life, throughout their waking state. And of course, descriptions and assistance I have given in that behalf before. So then you can bring meditation while you are working, while you are walking, while you are talking to another. Now here, if we change the word to discrimination, it is easier to see. So as one is talking to you, you can come aware of the true self, even in conversation. And in recognizing your own true self inside, you'll begin to see the true self of the other you are conversing with. So this is not a meditation. So you do not say, can we hold the conversation for 30 minutes, please? Rather, you honor the truth of self in all connection. And therefore, you bring spirit into the world, and the other person will perceive it, whether they know it or not. So therefore, your meditation then will be not just for your benefit. Your practice will go to others, those on the left, those on the right, and those sitting in front of you. So often the work of one then spreads to many. Not because there's necessarily an intention or a path, but because that is just the nature of it. And again, you will know this yourself. When one is happy, the next person is happy. And they may not know why. Is that not healing to others? In order to tell you a little bit about the future, in an event to occur later this year, the medium will introduce a mantra, not the mantra that has already been given, another mantra that can be brought into just a little bit of peace. He has not expressed this to another before, and perhaps does not even know it himself. And this is a mantra that can bring you to a point of stillness. All the day, a little bit of habit to begin with, but a little bit of perfection to come. But that will be introduced at another time. As I said, he does not even know yet. So I trust I've answered your question, Dave.
You have. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
How is your guitar playing? You're not doing as much as you should.
It's on hold at the moment. I keep thinking I will pick it up and start again.
At a previous conversation, we said, can you bring love to your music? Or maybe you can bring spirit or connect to your true self as you bring music into the world. And if you remember, we said when you can bring the truth of self into the world, then it plays in a very different way. You can lose yourself in your music, my friend, when you let yourself be. Or you can push too hard and try to play something exactly perfect at the right time in the right way. And when you do that, no, it is not the music that's providing the love. Rather like the man and his pipe. It is not the tobacco that gives peace and happiness, but it is the release and surrender. So if you can find and can accept that at times in playing music there is peace and love and contentment, and that is not due to the music, then that is proof that you can meditate. It is proof that you have that ability. Dave, if you play your guitar this evening, I will come and sit with you.
I would definitely do that, and eagerly await your presence. Thank you so much.
Can you give me a time?
9 o'clock this evening, 2100.
Will you be there?
I will definitely be there, yes.
Will you have an excuse?
No, I don't think so, no. I don't have an excuse now.
Then that is also a description of your meditation. I will be there at 9 o'clock. Let us sit together in the beauty of music.
It's lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Brandon, is there another question?
When the music flows, our friend Ignatius will show.
Mm. Would you be
Yes.
willing to do the same?
Yes, absolutely.
Will you play your music and sit with me in love at the same time?
There's been many times, my friend, in which the music flows and I'm one with it.
Yes. Well, let us sit yet another time. And together we'll create a little bit of beauty. But notice I will pull you to your heart. And we will create from there. And those
I'll
of
look
you
forward to
which
that
are
conversation.
writing, I offer you the same. If you set a time and you ask for my presence, and you are willing just for that short moment to sit in the beauty of togetherness and let the words flow out of love onto paper or into music, or if you're willing to just sit in the love together. If you say in your heart, be with me, and you mean it, and I really do emphasize that you mean it, I will be there. And I will sit with you in the beauty, and we will compose or scribe or just sit in love. Now, those of you which have experimented with this already know this feeling. Alas, it's all too brief. But think, is that not just what I said in the speech? Do we not sit with God together? With music, with words, with presence, with just the desire for peace? If you mean it and are true, not flippantly, not being desperate, but surrendering truly to each other. As you give to me, I will give to you. And then you'll realize that spirit gives you so much more than you think you can give to spirit. And together we will create a beautiful world and step away just a while from the world that is a little more challenging. So when you play your instrument or write your words or sit in the beauty, let us sit together first and let everything come out of the heart. Not your physical heart. And that is all I can give you. I cannot give you any more than that. And if you are true to it, you'll be home just for a few minutes. So I'd like to take those who are true and passionate to what it feels like, even just a glimpse of the beauty that awaits. You must set your time. You must be true. You must be willing for a few minutes to surrender to you, to surrender to me, and I will to you. My apologies, Brandon. I took over more than what I perhaps suggested. Is there another question?
Yes, our next question. That was beautifully said. Thank you. Michelle?
Hello, Ignatius.
Mm.
Um, I had a just curious kind of question. It's when people have like a bad experience with a near-death experience, is it like how the Bardo explains that it's kind of mind derived and they are seeing like the archetypal deities of their own mind? Is that what's being created during those episodes?
Yes. Everything that is seen, felt, smelt, heard is created by the mind. When one achieves the true sense of self, then there is nothing. And one then gets washed with either love, presence, or knowledge. So if one is walking through a path and sees a demon or an angel, then it is purely mind related. Mind creates what you see and the way you see it. Let me tell you a story to show you this. It's a story I believe you may know, my dear, so perhaps I say to others as well. So do you remember the story that one returns from home and there is a piece of rope on the grass? And because the
Yes.
light is not so good, they think it is a snake. And one runs away full of fear. Heart will race, person will sweat and panic. But then only to return a little better, with a little better light, and know that it is actually a rope. Now, sounds like a very inconsequential story. So did the snake ever exist? Of course, it did not. The truth here is rope, not snake. When you look into the world, the truth is spirit, not body. substratum, the essence, is spirit, not physical. So when one projects snake onto rope and then lives a life accordingly, it is like being bound by fear when there truly is peace. So the snake may be very big and horrendous and very big fangs and poison. It is purely the mind. Now, I'm sure one or two will say, well, the world must be physical. I can touch it. It has a feeling. I can touch clothes and know that they are soft and feel the pain from a thorn as it enters the finger. But the truth is, if you look at that carefully, as the thorn is touching the finger may have pain. The pain is actually in the mind and not in the finger. And when you look at your true self, the true self is completely whole. So near-death experience, as one walks what is perceived to be a tunnel towards the spiritual light, is opening and letting go of the physicality. Commonly, people see something more glorious, and very, very, very few see something that's a little fearful. But it is possible. But it is not true. The light is the truth and not the darkness. Let me explain another way. The essence is light. You can cover it with silk or stone, it will still be there. It is the mind that binds the man, not the other way around. So your true essence is always spirit. So what spiritual work do you actually need to do? Well, the spiritual work is not about acquiring, purchasing spirit, but is rather about the opening to spirit. It is opening to the light. So the path looks like it's two ways. First, one must go inwards, but then once one finds light, one must go outwards. As the light then must shine into the world. So this is how you get the infinity symbol. So do not recognize the items in the world. Look first inwards. Is it true? Am I damaged by this thorn, or is just my finger perceiving the thorn? Discrimination will tell you the truth. Connecting first to spirit will give you the truth. Perhaps too many words, but I trust I have answered your question.
Yes, and so when people return in a near-death experience, so I don't want to take all the time, but is it just more them chasing samsara and beating the feeling of doing? Is that why they come back?
Well, if you notice, or if you ever manage to talk to one who has had a near-death experience and touched the light, they come back changed. Now, if you played your guitar or wrote your words or anything else, if you can touch that light, you will be changed. Perhaps a little, hopefully more. Now, if you think also that one is being pulled back by samskara, by karma and habit, to living the way that they must live, to deal with those problems, that is also what is happening in your meditation. One touches truth, but gets pulled back into the physical world, and then desires the truth and touches it and gets pulled back into the physical world. So if you remember the analogy of the movie theater, we said you can sit in the theater and you can watch the screen, and one becomes very engrossed in the screen and lives through the emotions of highs and low according to the villain and hero. But the truth is, you are watching the movie. You are not in the movie. The movie is karma. So you can watch your karma. Then you can step away from it. And you step away from it by knowing that you are the soul. The soul has no karma, yet it watches the karma. So the soul is present to every incident that you face, but is unaffected by any of them. So if you were to achieve enlightenment, then all karma will finish because you've stepped away from mind. But one may continue to live in the physical form for a period of time, enlightened. And if karma was originated, then it will come to its normal flow, but not be created anymore. Rather like the arrow firing from a bow. Once it's been let go of, karma will still continue for the being. So an enlightened being will just finish off the karma that was already started, but create no more. I trust you see what I'm saying.
Yes, thank you for taking the time. Thank you.
Is it clear, my dear? Is my analogy of the movie theatre sufficient for you?
Completely.
Well, that's good then. Brandon, do we have time for another question or not?
Let us take the remaining questions over to next week, my friend.
So next week we'll have a brief talk and then more questions. Please bring any that you wish. My motive, if there is one, is in this case not to provide any entertainment, but rather to help you forward, to hold you by the hand and pull you towards light. And I offer it to you freely. God bless you all.